Hi, Congregation Beth Am, it's Rabbi Rosenberg with this week's Torah Tidbit. This week in Parashat Ekev, God tries to lay out fairly clearly what's expected of us. The Torah says, V'ata Yisrael, ma Adonai Elohecha shoel me'imach. Now, Israel, what does Adonai your God expect of you? And the answer is only this: to revere Adonai your God, to walk only in God's paths, to love God, and to serve Adonai your God with all your heart and soul. Okay, maybe it's not that easy. What exactly does it mean, especially to walk in God's paths? What are we being told to do? The rabbis teach us that walking in God's paths, living a holy life, actually means acting like God, which again doesn't really sound all that easy. And in fact, it then goes on to make it even harder because God says, or Moses says about God, Adonai your God is God supreme and Adonai supreme, the great, the mighty, and the awesome God. So we're being told to walk in God's paths, to be like God, who is indescribably mighty. That seems like an impossible, contradictory type of assignment to give us. But then the Torah goes on to be a bit more specific. Immediately after, the same verse really, as describing God as the ultimate power in the world, it says, God who shows no favor and takes no bribe, but upholds the cause of the fatherless and the widow, and befriends the stranger, providing them with food and clothing. You too must befriend the stranger, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt. And that's the trick right there. Yes, we are supposed to be like God. Yes, we are supposed to imitate this all-powerful, unbelievably mighty God. But we do so not by exerting great power, but instead by showing great compassion. Because God is not only powerful, God is also compassionate, and that's the way we're supposed to be like God. Or maybe to put it differently, we will be powerful exactly in the same measure that we are kind. That's the real measure of someone's power, is how kind they can be to others. That's such an important ideal within Judaism. We show our strength, we show our power, and we show our holiness, most of all, in how we take care of one another. I was reading or rereading bits of a book called Loving Kindness by Sharon Salzberg, and she tells of a study she read. She didn't cite it, so I can't give specifics, but she talks about a nursing home that gave plants to all of its residents. But half of the residents were told, here's a plant, we'll take care of it for you. And half the residents were told, here's a plant, you're in charge of it, please take care of it. And after a year or two, they looked back at these residents, and what they discovered was amazing. The plants were all doing fine, but the residents who had been given the assignment of taking care of the plants were showing clinically significant advantages in their health. Turns out that the residents who were taking care of something else, even something as simple as a plant, they were living longer and they were living healthier than those who had just been given a gift. And that story, that study, says something very profound about what it means to be human, that we are fully alive. We are most fully alive when we are taking care of someone else. It is so easy all of the time, but especially these days, to be selfish with our energy, to turn it inward and to worry about just ourselves or maybe just our small circle. And that impulse, that almost need sometimes, is completely understandable. But what our tradition is trying to teach us is that, first of all, it's not acceptable, but it's also not ultimately good for us. We will be at our holiest, we'll be at our fullest, we'll be living our fullest humanity when we can look outward, when we can take care of others. We'll be at our most godlike when we're caring about something more than just ourselves. What's one of the things that's been amazing to me about this whole time is how unselfish, for the most part, people have been. Of course, we can find individual stories and anecdotes about people who act like jerks during quarantine, but for the most part, the people around me, the people in our community, the people I just see out there, have been wonderfully caring, have been worried about each other, have been going out of their way to help each other. And what I read somewhere else recently, and I can't remember where, but that seems like studies show that's the norm. when disaster strikes, people really do respond with their best selves. When there's a major blackout, or at 9/11, or whenever the movies would tell us that society is going to devolve into chaos, instead, people rise above it and express their best selves. And taking care of others is how we are most human, and maybe ironically at the same time, it's how and when we are most divine. So for all those who have looked out for others, for all those who have called or reached out or run errands or just sent a message of encouragement, please know that what you're doing is so deeply, profoundly important and sacred. And the more that we can all continue to take care of each other, the better off we're all going to be. So hopefully everyone will reach out to someone this week and just try and take care of someone. And hopefully everyone will have a good and a safe week.